This is my last assignment.
Moving to the southern part of heaven.
Yeah. The southern.
All right, by my watch and by my computer, which is close, I've got it at 6 o'clock. So at this time, we will be starting our meeting. I'd like to welcome everyone. Thank you for coming, showing interest in our school systems. We're going to follow our tradition, which is, I think, if it would, if everyone rise, I'd like to have a moment of silence. And then we're going to make sure Tommy still remembers after we do that, he's going to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. So, Tommy, if you would share
Well,
with
these hospital people took care of me last Thursday night or not.
We hope
Where
they
I was
did.
at. We do a moment of silence. Some of us are military, and if you've not been military or are now, someone in your family has been. We have these young men and women scattered all over the world and protecting our rights to have meetings like this. That's exactly what it's about. So at this time, I'd always like for everyone to just have a moment of silence and think of these people, and hopefully they all come back home safe.
Just in case you didn't know, there's a 2009 Nenahilla graduate who was hit in the face with a rocket.
We
and
did.
he's doing great. He's in Texas now, so just keep him his family.
Thank you.
I think there's been an outpour of support from that community, so also it goes to show what community we live in and why we live in. Moment of silence.
Amen. Thank you. And I will try to explain it since there's no first graders here to do it.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Chairman, before the board takes any actions, I don't know if Ms. McCall, is she's going to be here?
She's coming, she's just gonna be a little late. She's planning on being here.
Okay.
Anything else, Council?
No, sir.
Okay. I would like to recognize this is our first formally scheduled meeting with our new superintendent, Dr. Chris Baldwin. He is here. I understand he's hit the ground running and has done several good things already, so we're very excited to hear. So welcome, Dr. Baldwin. And he understands how it works. When I mess up and get off the tangent, he brings me back on course, so that's part of the deal also. So moving forward, approval of minutes. As the board knows, we looked at a regular scheduled meeting on June 24th, and then we had that continuation meeting which took place on July 3rd. I think all the board members had a chance to review the minutes. Any changes, questions, corrections?
Make recommendations for June 24th and July 3rd.
Have a motion to approve. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Have a motion to say, all in favor, signify by saying aye. Any opposed? So moved. Good. Spotlight on people and programs. Dr. Ball, I don't see any. Do we have any that I'm aware of? Okay. If not, at this time in our meeting, we move to what we call our public comment. We did have a sign-up sheet, which I have 2 people that are signed up. We will recognize those first. After we finish with those, we will also recognize anyone that didn't fill out a sheet if you'd like to address the board also. All right, so just because you're not signed sheet does not mean you're not welcome to stand up and address it. So first on my list is Laura Green. That'll be fine. Wherever you feel comfortable.
Dr. Baldwin and esteemed board members and colleagues. I'm here on behalf of the bus drivers of Macon County. We would like to submit to you that we need help. If it weren't, and I don't have to go into all the details and all the things that bus drivers do because you know that. We're the first person the children see and the last one they see in the afternoon. Were it not for us, you couldn't have school. And we would like to see the benefit package that we now receive. You have to be a 4-hour employee or 20 hours per week. We would like to see that drop to 3 hours per day. We have so many people that are struggling so many bus drivers that are struggling. They work 2 jobs, some of them work 3 jobs to try to make a living and do the service of being a bus driver. We also we get a bonus attendance, and we're very thankful for that. We get $100 if we don't miss a semester. Any day during the year we get that. But when we get it, we're only ending up getting maybe $18 to $20. So we're not really getting the $100, and we want to ask if there's some way that we might could get a Walmart gift card or an Ingles gift card or something besides that, because it puts you in a different tax thing and you're only getting $20. And if you got more, you know, they're going to come more. And I won't go over my record because I've got it every time this year. So, but the others I think would work harder to get it. One of our biggest problems that we have is subs. We do not have any sub bus drivers. I know they have these bus training clinics every year, and you can call them, they say we've got 15 to 20 people that we've licensed. But they tend to forget that some of these people, this is a cheap way to get your CDL license. And a lot of people, that's what they use it for, is to get their CDLs or to drive for Macon Transit or for Macon Program for Progress. So therefore, we don't have any sub-drivers. And if we're called out on an emergency, or we have a death in the family, or we get sick, God forbid, there's nobody to drive that bus. We did have some last year set empty because there was no driver to drive the bus. The bus didn't run, they just sat there. And they had to try to double up to get kids to school however they could. I cannot speak for anybody's driving. I am a custodian / bus driver. Custodian, they can say it's like $2,000 a month, which mine's not that because I'm not full-time. And a teacher assistant, I can only speak for my sister Reba. Hers has been the same ever since she's been a teacher assistant, unless, you know, we get that increase just like everybody else in cost of living. So I don't see how they can consider teacher assistants and custodians as hourly paid people, and they won't let them drive because they have to pay them time and a half. I know I have talked with a lot of custodians and several teacher assistants that said they will drive and will be happy to drive for straight hourly wages. They do not ask for the time and a half. They will drive for the straight hourly wage. And we're just desperate to have some sub-bus drivers. We have none. And if they're willing, I know Rita said that she's willing. My brother-in-law Gary is a custodian. He would be more than happy to drive for just hourly wage. He needs the money, and so do the other custodians. They need the help, and it would help us as well as help them if we could get some help. And that's all I have. And thank you for your time and
Thank you.
Thank you, Laura. John DeVille.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Dr. Baldwin, welcome to Central Office. I rise tonight to speak to what is going on in Raleigh in the General Assembly. A week ago tonight, this very moment, I was in Halifax Mall outside the General Assembly as part of a 3,000 to 5,000 person protest on a number of different issues that are facing North Carolinians. I rise tonight to speak to 3 of those as the budget process in North Carolina draws to a close. Those of us who follow the news closely, and I am a political junkie, WRAL.com at Capitol is where first thing I check in the mornings, last thing I checked at night. And they posted last night at about 8:20 a deal that had been struck between the leadership of the North Carolina Senate and North Carolina House. And there are three parts of that deal that I would like to bring the board's attention, the public's attention, the media's attention to, and to ask the board tonight to consider a resolution asking the General Assembly to go back to the drawing table before they adjourn, what's expected to happen on Thursday or Friday of this week, go back to the negotiating table one more time before they do some serious damage to North Carolina public education. The first thing I would like to speak to that as part of the deal that was struck yesterday is what's going to happen to North Carolina teacher assistants. The deal that was struck last night will cut $120 million in this upcoming fiscal year. That's about a 21% cut to teacher assistants. Every single elementary teacher, every single elementary school principal, parent knows how vital that teacher assistant is in the classroom. I think anybody who's been a parent would understand how important that second parent is. You know, which would you rather have? That second parent leave the premises or one child leave the premises? Maybe it's a really bad child, maybe that child leave, but normally that second set of hands is what's important to you. And I'll bring that to the board's attention, one, because that role is vital to the success of our elementary school children. Secondly, Macon County, as most counties in North Carolina have had to do in the past several years, have had to approach the county commissioners for extra dollars above and beyond the normal current operating expense budget. And when we go to them and ask for extra money, the first thing, if you were present at the budget meetings this past year and in years past as well, is what have you all done? Did you all come to an agreement? Did you have a resolution that asked Raleigh to cough up more dollars? So looking forward to next March, next April, next May, if we are indeed going to be cut $120 million statewide for teacher assistants, and we're going to go back to the county commissioners who were so incredibly gracious and generous to us this past budget session, if we're going to go back to them and ask them for more money for teacher assistants, I think it's incumbent upon Macon County Schools and upon this board, upon this superintendent, to tonight come together and resolve that the status quo that's coming out of Raleigh is unacceptable on that score. The second point I'd like to point the board's attention to are the $10 million that were earmarked yesterday for vouchers. There are two forms of vouchers that are about to hit North Carolina. One is a very small one set aside, very small in terms of the overall budget amount, small in terms of the actual dollar amount per voucher for special needs student. The larger voucher is $10 million set aside that will be created through tax credits given to corporations. So Acme Incorporated wants a $6,000 tax credit. Instead of paying that $6,000 in state income taxes to the General Assembly, it can turn around and award a voucher. Now, it can't award a voucher just to anybody who wants to. The House, who has been pushing the voucher issue, the House has presented and spun the whole voucher issue as a ladder, a leg up, if you will, for low-income families. Now, let's unpack what the General Assembly has said is low income. This year, that low income is $51,000 for a family of four. Next year, it will be $72,000 for a family of four. There are a lot of bus drivers, there are a lot of teacher assistants who probably wouldn't see that as low income. But that's the way the House has been spinning it. And up until Sunday night, it looked like the Senate was not going to go along with that voucher scheme. There were several people in the Senate who said no to that. But because of what is apparently some log rolling that went on last night, now that is now part of the budget. So $10 million set aside, and where will that money go? It will go to private schools where there will be no accountability. It will go to for-profit schools where there is no accountability. And that money can also go to sectarian schools. So you have a constitutional issue that is being brought up right there. You have public money diverted to a sectarian institution. And with the board's indulgence, I'd like to refer to a letter, to a story that came out in the Citizen Times in May of this year. There was a headmaster by the name of Coral Jeffries. She has a school called New City Christian, and she had written a letter to the editor saying that these vouchers were a great idea. And I did a little bit of research on her school, and because my concern is, apart from the constitutional issues, is that if we divert scarce tax dollars, if we divert those away from public education, and we're already down at 48th in terms of per pupil spending in this state, if we continue that diversion, if we accelerate that diversion, we're not going to be able to meet the needs of special needs students, of kids who come from low income backgrounds, of any type of kid who has got some sort of academic challenge. And I wonder, okay, how did New City Christian School, how did they take care of their special needs kids, where these voucher dollars would go? And this is from their website. This is a direct quote. New City Christian School has limited resources to help students with special needs. We are not equipped to work with students with severe physical or academic delays. All children are made in God's image and deserve the very best education that is suited to their situation. And so we want to help families find a good fit. In other words, don't come here. So we're going to divert public dollars, our tax dollars, to private institutions who will have the authority, have the capacity to say no to those most expensive students. And Mr. Woody and Mr. Jetter and Mr. Maslin will not have that authority. They will have to say, because that's what their heart, as well as the law tells them, you're welcome, come on in. As instead of, no, you're not welcome here. Third, tenure. This is probably the most misunderstood component of to the post office, and ask them what they thought tenure meant. They would say, well, that means job for life. Any teacher knows, any administrator knows, Mr. Moore knows, all these people sitting up here know, it does not mean job for life. It means job for life as long as A, there's not a reduction in the workforce, like we've experienced. It means job for life as long as you are professional, moral, and not a criminal. But if your principal finds you to be either not moral, or not professional, or you're a felon, you will be shown the door. All tenure does in its current form in this state is ensure that a teacher gets due process. That's all that it does. What it does is it prevents a board or a superintendent or director of personnel saying, we don't like DeVille's politics, get him out of here. Or DeVille's spot would be a great spot for my niece who just got social studies certification, get DeVille out of here and put her in it. So starting in 2018, the way the General Assembly has it set up right now is that no teacher in North Carolina will have tenure. I can't imagine buying a house with that type of tentative ground to stand on. And so I'd ask the board to consider that. A few more things and I'll close. The voucher component of this agreement that was struck yesterday has never been vetted by a Senate committee. The tenure component has never been subjected to a floor debate by either the House or the Senate. It was not vetted by a House committee. These are extraordinary things to happen for legislation, serious, far-reaching legislation to be passed in this last-minute, haphazard manner. And I would also then like to point out to you a couple of conversations I've had with Senator Jim Davis. The most recent one being back in April in my classroom for 2 hours, day of prom, with myself, Rena Sutton, Darlene Flomneck, and Shelley Martin. And this was the second time, at least, that I had the opportunity to speak to Dr. Davis, Senator Davis, on the subject of tenure. And Jim was forthright. He said, I think, there's nothing wrong with tenure. I've talked to Dr. Yeager. Tenure doesn't keep administrators from getting rid of bad teachers. So, yes, I support tenure. Now, this is from a guy who's also got in his publication that he wants to get rid of tenure, so I'm not exactly sure where he stands, but I do know that at least on 2 separate occasions, one I've got on tape, is that he said he supported it. But when you're in a log rolling scheme that is happening right now in Raleigh, it's easier to go along with the crowd than it is to fight it. So, what am I asking specifically for the board to do tonight? I'm asking you to pass a resolution. I'm asking you to draw a line in the sand. I'm asking for Macon County to serve as leaders in this state tonight, because if you will adopt this resolution tonight, this will make the wires tomorrow. And you have the opportunity in your hands tonight to cause a moment of pause, to cause a moment of reflection in the General Assembly. And they might not listen to you entirely, but they might roll some of this back. So, my resolution for opposition to impending legislation. Proposed changes to Senate Bill 402, which were made by the Joint Conference Committee on the Continuation, Expansion, and Capital Budgets, which reduces funding for teacher assistants, diverts state monies to vouchers to be used for private for-profit schools, and which eliminates career status for North Carolina public school teachers. Whereas the Macon County Board of Education believes that teacher assistants are vital to the success of early elementary students, and this board and as superintendent have successfully lobbied the Macon County Commissioners for additional funds for these and other classroom personnel vitally necessary for the academic success of our children, for whom Macon County Schools does not receive sufficient state monies to fund these positions. And accordingly, the Macon County Board of Education opposes the currently proposed additional cuts to teacher assistants of $120 million, which is approximately 21% less than this fiscal year. And whereas North Carolina public school teachers are currently awarded teacher status, career status after 4 years of professional service for a particular LEA, and which does not guarantee teachers a job for life, but rather maintains that termination shall only occur during a reduction in force or a documented evidence that the teacher is no longer delivering professional teaching in the classroom or has committed an act of serious moral or legal misconduct. And whereas maintaining a stable core of professional teachers who are not subject to political whims nor nepotism is in the best interest of the students. And whereas the current proposal for the implementation of vouchers diverts more funds from public schools to private and for-profit schools, while not demanding that those private and for-profit schools serve the students with the greatest and most expensive needs, all in a climate where North Carolina's per pupil spending has fallen to 48th in the nation. And accordingly, the Macon County Board of Education opposes these vouchers because of the failure to make adequate provision for special needs children, the constitutional issues brought to bear by diverting public funds to sectarian institutions, and the lack of sufficient fundings to public schools in general by the North Carolina General Assembly. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Macon County Board of Education opposes the aforementioned legislation and publicly and respectfully requests that the members of the North Carolina General Assembly reconsider said conclusions and agreements from the Joint Conference Committee report on the continuation, expansion, and capital budgets of July 21st, 2013, which we believe have tremendous potential to harm the interest of public education in general and the students and parents who avail themselves of it in particular. So, thank you all very much for listening. If you have any questions, I'm glad to take them. But ideally, I'd like for you all to vote on this tonight. Yeah. Also have, if you haven't kept up with the news, that's what's happened in the last 24 hours.
Mr. Bill, we are still technically in public comment, so at this point, I don't know that we can take an action right now.
Okay.
After we come out of that and go into our formal meeting, we'll discuss it further. Does that make sense?
Sure.
That's all right with the rest of the board, but we are still technically, we haven't formally gone into where we're discussing. Those are the only two names that we had as far as public comment. As I said before, though, however, we will listen to anyone that's here that would like to address the board. So I'm going to open the floor at this time and say, is there anyone else that don't have a sign-up sheet or would like to address the board on anything that might be on your mind? If so, we will listen, and now is the time to do so. I don't see any hands raised. All right, if not, we will then move forward into our regularly scheduled meeting. I think at this time, the board will, I was aware that John was coming today. He had the courtesy to let me know he wanted to come and present this. What I did was I asked him to forward this resolution that he has both to Dr. Baldwin and to our legal counsel, who is Mr. Henning. And Dr. Baldwin, I think you've had a chance to review it. Did you have any comments or thoughts on it?
I support the resolution, pending oversight by School Board Attorney Mr. Henning. But I appreciate Mr. DeVille standing up tonight and expressing his opinions and support our teachers, teacher system, and students.
And Mr. Chairman, the version that I saw before must have been an earlier draft, but the way that this is composed is very well stated.
Okay.
I think it's be fit for board approval if the board so desires.
Mr. Bill makes a very good point, and let me go back, and the board will bear with me, and I'll talk a lot sometime. If you remember last October, some of the things that we had that were being talked about in this resolution were very things that we talked about. One was a tenure. With the direction of the board, I think Mr. Cave and I attended our conference, and we actually got up and spoke before the School Board Association about our support for tenure continuing on. I don't think we were listened to, Tommy, but we did get up and we did speak our piece, shall we say. Teacher assistants, I think we all know the importance of that. I find this appalling that we're faced with a cut over 120 million, which I think equated out at 21% cut in funding from the state to those vital positions. And of course, I have my own opinion about vouchers. I'm not going to get into that wholesale, but I think it's like to entertain some discussion about the resolution. We have Mr. DeVille here that can answer any questions you might have. I've had a chance to look at it. As I said, Dr. Baldwin has looked it over. I have looked it over, and if it comes to me, I fully support what we're being asked to do. However, I only have one vote. So at this time, does anyone, the rest of the board have, this is something we've just now had a chance to look at, does anyone else have any questions, Mr. Bill or Dr. Baldwin? Now, I would encourage you to ask any questions at this time.
I wish you could make it stronger, but I know you got it.
I didn't want to put you in a position where you didn't want to, I didn't want Mr. Henning to say no.
No,
You
I
can't do
realize.
that.
If it was any stronger, it would be ticking.
And I know that, but, you know, I travel a lot, and I see what's going on across this country of ours. North Carolina, 11 years ago when I was elected to the board, I could go to any conference, anywhere, and hold my head high and say, I'm North Carolina and be proud of it. I can't do that anymore. And it's scary. I don't have any tie into this. I've got a couple of grandkids in school, but my children are gone, and it's just, it bothers the heck out of me that we're not wanting to educate our children anymore. They come, used to they were the top of the heap, and now it's like they're the bottom. And we have to compete with these other countries around the world. I've run into people in Mexico that they told me 7, 8 years ago. They said, right now, you're beating your drum because you're proud of your county, your state, whatever. But this guy had talked in China, and he said, you look out. You're going to be a third world country before we know it. And I'm afraid, education-wise, that's coming to fruition. It's really scary. So that's my piece.
Make a motion with the resolution for opposition to amending legislation.
Second. Here a second. I have a motion second. Let me say, I do apologize to y'all for short notice, but I think y'all realize the short notice is being forced on us because the action is taking place in Raleigh and it's taking place very rapidly down there. So please, if y'all understand, that's why we're here. But anyway, have a motion second. I'm going to ask any other discussion. If not, all those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? So moved. Thank you, fellow board members. I think you stood up and spoke.
Thank you all
What
so
it's all about.
very
And I'm
much.
very
It
proud
means a lot.
of each and every one of you. I think it's very good.
Thank you.
All right, and thank you, Mr. DeVille, for bringing it to us and doing the work that you've done. It's nice to have the watchdog on watch to see what's going on. Moving forward, next on our agenda is the consent agenda. All the board members had a chance to look that over. Mr. Moore, did you have something to add to this? Is that right?
Yes, sir, I just leaned
Well, it would-
to the council here.
Okay.
Consent agenda.
It did not go into consent agenda, it will be additional beyond this, but yes, sir, in your information, you have 2 elementary positions in which the interviews have been conducted, and the principal has made a recommendation. A bus driver, substitute / activity bus driver, one of our employees, and 2 coaches for volleyball at the middle school, in which the individual that was going to teach or coach that team has actually resigned.
Does anyone have any, no, I can ask a question. Mr. You said this will not be part of the consent agenda?
I mean, however the board wants to consider it, I mean, you could, if your motion is to approve the consent agenda with the additional names that have been brought to your attention, that'll be fine.
Okay.
Or either way, there's nothing magical about the consent agenda.
That's
It's-
just it. That's what, you've asked my question. We don't have to have something that can be brought forward into the consent
Correct.
agenda as submitted by the person.
Just, it needs to be part of the motion.
Okay, let's have a chance. Does anyone have any questions of Mr. Moore?
I'd just like to say thank you to Mr. Moore and all the principals for the job they've done here in the last couple of weeks. It's been hammer time, I'm sure, but we appreciate it. What's the job you've done? Thank you. Together.
Anyway, you want to formulate the question?
I think
Okay. Sorry. Mr. Moore, anything else?
No, sir, not at this time.
Okay. And we still have
still have-
positions, we'll talk about that next when we get to that.
Yes, sir.
Personnel. Very
Yes,
good.
sir.
Any other questions?
No, I make motion we accept the consent agenda as presented, plus the addition of these 5 people that were presented to us. See.
I have a motion to accept the consent agenda and with the addition of the 5 names submitted for approval. Do I hear a second? I have a motion second. Any other discussion? If there being none, do I hear all in favor, signify by saying aye. Any opposed? So moved. And we're going to the next thing, Mr. Moore, let me add, as Mr. Shields said, I know that all the principals, y'all have performed some wonder, you have been under the gun, and thank you for your hard work. Thank you. Brought some very good people to us, and our school is better for it, so.
Principals have done a good job working under the gun, getting
Exactly.
committees together
Okay.
and getting things done in a hurry. So a lot of the credit goes to the school administration.
Personnel, updates there, Mr. Moore, please.
Yes, sir. We still have media coordinator vacancy, high school graphic teacher vacancy, the guidance counselor at Highland School. We just talked about those 2 elementary vacancies at Mountain View, so those have been filled. We have an EC teacher at Union, high school math at Union. I think we also have 3 or 4 other vacancies that are getting ready to occur as people are transferring to other districts, other states. So we could see some more vacancies here in the near future of 4 or 5 is what my estimate would be. Hopefully, we'll have these vacancies filled certainly by the next board meeting.
I always interrupt, I'm not, but are there any of these that we need to, that the board be aware of, that there's an urgency we might need to poll for approval on those, Mr. Moore?
I think we're going to discuss in a moment, perhaps moving up the August board meeting.
Okay.
Dr. Baldwin and I discussed that.
Right.
Just to make sure that we get people in place prior to pre-planning, prior to the new employee orientation.
Well, that's a good, put it out now, it's a good time to consider that, so that's kind of why I brought it up. I think I
Yes,
remember
sir.
seeing something like that.
I think we had discussed perhaps August the 15th, which is a Thursday, and the reason for that is because new employee orientation is scheduled for Monday,
August the 20th, which is the day before all other teachers report. Traditionally, that's when they've held new employee orientation. So with the board's agreement, we'd like to move that meeting.
First day of school. Let's see, so if we like to consider just moving the day, that first quarter.
15th,
Yes, sir.
which is a Thursday.
And that will allow us to get people in place prior to school starting.
Short notice, but
And
board
that's for-
members, are there any conflicts with the 15th? Stephanie doesn't have to check her calendar. I don't have anything down there, I don't think.
What time can I do that?
Thanks, Lou. I may be gone too.
There may be other days that may prove to be more beneficial. The only reason we were talking about that Thursday was because we're trying to get people in place prior to the
To
new.
be honest with you,
employee.
I think I'm supposed to be on vacation that week, and I hate to break this to you, but my wife overruled you.
The other
As
day-
well, she should.
Yes.
The other day that we were looking at was August the 19th, next Monday.
Okay.
Which would, they would miss the new employee orientation, but yet they would be there for the first day of pre-planning. If we can have an abbreviated orientation.
We could, some of us could be gone if we only had a few names. I mean, we polled before, would that be really out of line, that polling?
No, we don't like to make it a standard practice.
I always would advise you, if you can have a quorum present to meet, I mean, even if there's just three of you, and if you can't do that, I would prefer, especially not for something like a hiring decision, for you to poll. We try to avoid it if at all possible anyway, but.
We moved this meeting up a week, so 19th was the Thursday, Mr. Moore?
Yes, sir.
I'm sorry.
The 15th was a
I'm sorry.
Thursday, yes, sir.
Okay.
19th being that following Monday.
Move that.
Which roughly is 4 weeks from today.
That's what I'm saying, if you move it up, we got roughly 4 weeks, which is a normal course anyway, so that would be Monday, the
19th on. Yes,
I was
sir.
thinking even the week before that, if you really, in order to get them to the orientation, so it would be the 12th. Is that too soon?
I don't think so. I think in these 5 positions, there's probably a pretty good chance that they'll be interviewed for fairly quickly. I'm expecting, I know for a fact that I've got 4 resignations that are pending other district approval. In other words, they're waiting on other boards to meet so that they can turn in their resignations. We could have more between now and then. I wouldn't, so we're looking at basically 9 to 10 positions is what I'm expecting.
That's scary, what we just talked about a minute ago. I mean, we just never have this problem. We had people begging to come here, not leaving us. Scary.
You don't want the state make increase that they're making right now, you can't blame people at all.
Mr. Treasurer, when do you need to try to get your guidance counselor in place?
The week before teachers come back, we always have the guidance counselor in place to do schedule changes. In this case, they'll be meeting with parents and so forth, so we would need that person to be here. I think it's around the 12th is the week before that, isn't it? So they would need to be board approved before that. And if we hire someone from out of state, they've got to make plans to move and so forth. And as we were just talking about, he's got letters of resignation waiting on other boards to approve it. Well, anybody we offer a position to, contingent upon the board approval, is not going to move before they know they got a job.
Right.
We hope we have a name by the end of next week for that. So there are some positions that just need to be early on this, especially if they're coming from out of state.
Mr. Mazen?
And I really would like to, if there's the good ones we've got, not sew them up before they do go somewhere else. A promise isn't as good as a contract.
Seriously.
I hate to have our board members travel, but I'm 99% sure that whole week, I'm like Tommy, I'll be gone the 12th through, we'll be back until the 19th. But that's only two of us. As long as we have a quorum, which is three, are there any other conflicts that the other board members know of? If you meet during that week?
I'm back on the 10th, so.
The 15th.
The 15th, or I think I'm going that whole week.
But
the
it is
12th,
Yeah,
15th.
I was gonna say, we don't have to poll on some of this, I mean, a few of them, especially if they're very small amount, they're absolutely, I mean, we probably have a hard time to start with school about guidance.
My advice is always going to be to avoid polling if it's possible, and sometimes it will.
And we always know
I
we would
understand.
rather take your advice
We done made him a doctor, let's go.
Okay. There'll be three here, and then you can adjust, like they said, we did the same thing, so.
Mr. Chairman, I'm also going to advise you to, being that both your chair and vice chair are not going to be present for that meeting, I would advise you to take a motion and vote on the change of that meeting, as well as appoint the person that's going to chair the meeting.
Okay.
Because we don't know who that is.
Good advice. So am I hearing consensus of the three that will be here, the 15th works? Is that right? Okay, so based on the advice, I'd like to entertain a motion that we'll kind of do it two ways, Ms. Champ, if that's all right. First, I'd like to hear a motion approval to move our meeting to the 15th of August. Do I hear a motion to that effect?
We'll move our meeting to August 15th, 6 p.m. Central Office.
Second?
Second.
A motion, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? So moved. I'll also entertain now a motion as far as who will fill in as chairing that meeting. And that's between, I'm not gonna say a word, between the three that's gonna be here.
Motion for Gary to chair the August 15th meeting, since the chair and co-chair are out.
I'll second that.
A motion, Mr. Shields will substitute as chair on that meeting. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Any opposed? So moved.
And I would just add to that, I know Mr. Henning's advice, but we might still need to poll for
Yes.
guidance council
Yes.
just to make sure that we're in place.
It's
Keep it
always
to a
the case.
minimum.
But obviously, we want to try to get these people in place as quickly as we can, Mr. Moore, so if you feel the need, I don't think there's going to be any objections to, as what Paul was saying, that if you feel the need to do that, just let us know.
Thank you, sir.
That's more important than anything else right now.
Yes, sir.
Anything else from you?
No, sir, not at this time.
And
Thank
for
you.
any reason,
Again, we made, and we'll look at it on the 15th. As Stephanie said, she's voting, she voted not based on her knowledge, but if it changes, we may have to revisit this, John, so. The actual date.
Yeah, and I did based on my wife's, I did, she's in trouble now, so. I don't know what.
If we have to change that,
We can still change it.
we can change once we get the notification out and.
And if another one's not going to be here, we won't have a quorum anyway.
Okay, well, there's nothing wrong with adapting that on a permanent basis, good, all right, we'll go from there. Moving on, next is on, I think, I don't work well, I'm just forward and backward, but I think the next thing would have been, curriculum, no, policy, thank you there. With the board's, mission, I'd like to move, if you notice on approval items, we got last sports medicine agreement. I would like to move that up. I understand one of the, where it is here, needs to, probably going to perform surgery right now. So with y'all's permission, we'd like to change the order of products and move that next. Is there any objections to doing so? If not- There you go. All right, we will move forward. Dr. Baldwin, did you want to give an introduction? Mr. Woody, whoever we want to recognize at this time.
Just like to welcome Mr. Jim Bross, CEO for Angel Medical Center, and Dr. Mark Moriarty, orthopedic surgeon.
Mr. Woody?
Mr. Chairman and Board, what we're looking at now at Franklin High School is one of Angel Medical Center, and
Mission Sports Medicine is our sports medicine. They'll be taking care of our student athletes throughout the year. This has been a process that started back in the previous administration. I've been involved with the process throughout the whole tenure of it. And just looking at what's best for students at Franklin High School, they brought a package to us. They didn't bring agreement in writing. And I'd like for you to consider that. These gentlemen here tonight to ask any questions that you may have. But there's a lot that they're bringing to us. As you can see, a lot of the free stuff they're going to be bringing to us that's got our attention. I think it's well worth listening to what they have to offer.
Hey, we provided this to the board members this afternoon, is that right? Give everyone a chance to see that and look it over. I don't know that we've had, Stephanie, I don't know if you've had a chance to do that. Okay. Do you have a copy of that? Maybe Stephanie, review, please. Yeah. While everyone's looking at it, so we don't drag it out, I think Dr. Baldwin looked at this, and Mr. Woody, if you don't mind, I think the bottom line is this saves us a considerable amount of money. Do you have those figures as far as
just
potentially?
What we paid out last year was right at like 4,600. What they're offering, the time and everything, we're probably looking about $15,000 a year savings.
15,000 or 1,500?
15,000. We this the hard numbers is we paid $46.60 for our previous person, and which, to be honest, we have no complaints faced. It's just that they've done a great job. Mission Sports Medicine Angel brought a deal to the table that's exceeds. And looking and talking to their athletic director, Jay Brooks, his input, he's looking at this probably going to be giving, because right now the athletic trainer that they're going to be providing will be at Franklin High School at 1:30 every day. We don't have that now. Athletic trainer will be taking care of the athletes, taping and doing stuff like that. Dr. Moriarty will probably come to Franklin High School at the end of the school day, evaluating athletes at that time. And it's just a lot of gain what they offer in the course. Like I said, nothing what we've had in the past. They did a great job. It's just they're taking it to the next level for us. What's best for students at Franklin High School.
So let me clarify, make sure we're right. So we're looking at saving about $4,600.
About $4,600 what we're saving,
but the services are given could be easily valued at over $15,000 that they're basically giving to us.
Above what we've got now
already.
Got the in-kind services figure on there. How much that in-kind?
We do not, Gary. Frankly, Angel Medical Center is a community service organization, so that the community benefit of this particular program would not be possible without our new orthopedic surgeon, Dr. Mark Moriarty, triple board certified orthopedic surgeon. So we're just frankly glad that he's here and we're able to offer that benefit to the community, to the student athletes and their patients.
Another thing about it is, this is also going to benefit Macon Middle School. Kids who practice over Franklin High School, that trainer's going to be there for them as well. Full-time athletic.
I think that's the thing that jumped out at me was what we're being able to do is expand not only the high school, but all facets, our middle grade schools and everything about it.
Basically, they're going to, like you say, Dr. Moriarty is going to be at the home games. He's going to travel with the football team on Friday nights. Athletic trainers at all practices. And what we're doing now, we're paying EMS to have a paramedic there that satisfies the athletic needs. I don't come out of High School Athletic Association. By having that trainer, we're going to cut that expense as well.
But even more than that, I know as a parent of two athletes, it's pretty priceless to have somebody that starts to get to know your athletes and is able to always be there for them. It's just an amazing service that y'all are offering for life.
If I may, Mr. Chairman, I just want to point out that it's in the document a couple of places, but this is very strictly community benefit. There's explicit language that says that student athlete, parent, legal guardian has the right to choose a provider here, locally, out of area, et cetera. So there's absolutely no steerage. There's even a separate section there that talks about no inducement for referrals. So it is truly intended just to be a
Yes.
community service.
Thank you. You're right. I know that now.
You know, like I was saying, if you don't want your, child to go to Dr. Variety, you have the right to take your child, anywhere they're going to go to.
Mr. Henry, I think you've had a chance to review this, is
I
that right?
have, yes, sir, and I think it's,
Not that I'm questioning what we're just told.
no,
just
sir.
to verify.
I have one or two very minor technical questions, clarifications that I'd like to make, but I think the agreement, the board is in a good position if it's the board's desire to approve the agreement, just make it subject to slight technical revision, and I'll be back to you with anything major, but I don't see anything major. I think it's a good agreement.
This is annually.
It is.
Revisit it again.
This initial proposal is a one-year agreement. We certainly trust that if things go well and the school system is satisfied, the athletes and the administration at high schools and middle schools are satisfied, and we have a conversation about renewal.
We just saw in there where we could disconnect at any time, or y'all could do this, Nickel does.
It is. Without cause, it's a 90-day contract. 90-day termination.
We'll just hold up payment.
Everybody else does.
All right, we have a agreement that's been recommended both by our superintendent and by our principals. Any other questions? If not, I would entertain a motion concerning either acceptance or denial.
Go ahead. Make a motion, sports, medicine agreement, go ahead and see be approved.
Subject to review by legal counsel. Correct? Have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All in favor, say by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? So moved. Thank you, Jim.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
With permission, will.
Yes.
No way.
Now moving back, gets back on. First on our approval policy is our, Mr. Woods here, our fundraising requests. No, I'm sorry. I've already jumped over. That's on my, next. Gotcha. Okay, so there you go. Just yeah.
Hi, Mr. Chairman. First thing before I start these fundraising, I just want to say thank you to the Franklin community, the people that supports this, because without their fundraising, there's a lot we couldn't offer Franklin High School. I'm sure I speak for the other principals. So we're gracious to the community for their support. That's crucial for what we do at the high school. The first one up is varsity cheerleading. This one's going to be, it starts May 27th to June 14th. They're going to be selling raffle tickets for 2 nights to stay. The cabin and wildflower. Basically, what they're going to do with this is to raise money for some uniform replacements. And that'll start in May.
Or, jump on that one, right?
Right.
No, I think it means August. I'm
Is it
sorry.
August? Okay.
Yes, I think so. I'm sorry. As soon as you
Well,
said
that's
May, I was
I was
like,
gonna
wow,
watch you
I'm
get
really
it.
organized.
Right.
You know, August.
Okay,
I'm
so
sorry.
she's gonna start this one in
That's my
August,
fault.
and, there is some issues with uniform, and there's some that do need to be replaced at the high school, so thank you for clearing that for me,
Sorry.
Coach. That's fine.
Starts in August, Coach, and ends when?
We only do ours for like 1 month, so that must have been an error on my part with the date. So it would begin August 27th and it would end September 27th. We only do it for 4 weeks and then we stop. I'm sorry, that was my fault.
You're trying to make me older, right?
I know, I'm sorry.
So basically, it'll be August 27th to September 27th.
Yes, I'm sorry.
Or we actually have a third one.
Yeah, there's a couple here. The second one for the varsity cheerleading, this is the dance team included in this. Again, money for uniform replacement, warm-ups, and for some of the dance stuff. This is going to be a raffle through the gondolas. We're going to be selling spaghetti dinners at gondolas. This will start July 29th and then August 19th. All right, volleyball, I have 3 for those. First one is going to be selling the peanut roster. We'll be selling cans of peanuts. This one's for equipment, balls, team bonding activities, senior gifts, team mom gifts, team dinners, etc. This will start August 1st and then August 16th. The next one for the volleyball will be the cancer shirts. What they'll do, it'll start first week of October. This will be their 6th year doing this. And they'll be selling the cancer design t-shirts and donating the money to the Cancer Foundation. Again, that will start the first week. And the last one they have for volleyball is for warm-ups, volleyball shoes and bags. It'll be 2 weeks, it'll be August 1st and 16th, and they'll be selling the sponsor t-shirts. This is name on the back of the t-shirts that the girls can wear. Players aren't required to sell these.
Make a motion to accept.
That's good, yeah, I'm glad we got clarified. The thing that was on the volleyball, on mine must be wrong.
Well, this one was on and we had to change and add it back for the,
Okay, it's fine.
because there was an issue about maybe the booster club, this has no conflict. and
No,
first change, take care of
it
that.
crossed over.
Right.
You were describing about,
Right.
mine didn't have about the t-shirt, which
Okay.
I meant. I'll shut up now. Okay. Have to take that a motion for approval. Mr. Cave, in a second. All in favor, say by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? So moved. Thank you, Mr. Woody.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Highland, Mr. Jetter, Highland School,
The
and
fundraiser-
also both, and then if you want to, we'll do both of them if you don't mind. Just
The fundraiser is for selling stuff at the volleyball preseason tournament on August 10th. Stickers and stuff, doing refreshments. The other one is a volleyball camp. There'll be some Western Carolina coaches there, and basically the students will be paying for the camp. Whatever they pay to come to the camp, that's what the camp costs.
Do the same thing every year.
Make a motion to accept.
A motion for accept, second. Have a motion to say, all in favor? Any opposed? So moved. Thank you, Mr. Jetter. I'm trying to get off line here. Mr. Maslin.
Sell shirts basically to, as you know, our budget's getting cut. Cover cost of socks and equipment for soccer. And sell the t-shirts for $20. The middle, that logo on the front, and the best never rests on the back.
And those will just be sold at events or each player?
Yes, there will be no, we're not putting a minimum you have to sell.
No.
People always want shirts to wear.
And no door-to-door, that wasn't mentioned on there, but no door-to-door.
No door-to-door, we don't do door-to-door.
Children not be going there. I didn't think so, just want to clarify. Any other questions?
Motion to accept.
A motion to accept, do I hear a second? Have a motion to say, all in favor? Any opposed? So moved. Thank you, Mr. Maslin. Western Carolina Taste Setters appointment. Dr. Baldwin.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Western Carolina Pace Setters regulations require that they have a school board approved Macon County Schools liaison. I would like to request that Randy Shepherd be approved tonight as that Macon County Schools liaison to represent us with the Macon County, the Western Carolina Pace Setters.
I'll make a motion to accept Randy Shepherd as that liaison.
Have a motion is second. All in favor, say by saying aye. Any opposed? So moved. And Randy, you raised your eyebrow. Were you expecting that?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yes, I was expecting it. I've been in contact with Dr. Baldwin.
Dr. Baldwin.
No, it was, Ms. McGuire over here was being a wise guy, so. But no, I've been in contact with Dr. Baldwin. Mrs. Burt gave me some literature. I was in contact today with a Mr. Hagler, and he's coming over to Union Academy on Wednesday, and he's bringing the director, whose name escapes me, and I'm meeting with him that morning. So, yes, sir.
I couldn't resist. Thank you, Randy.
I understand. Yes, sir. Thank you.
Amendment to Policy 440, Access to and Disclosure of Records, first reading. Mr. Henning.
Mr. Chairman, this is a proposed amendment to this policy in response to the discussion that has been ongoing for quite some time, really for the past year or so, about the records, particularly the problematic ones really are the ones that are kept for and required to keep a permanent record for all students even after they're graduated, which, as the board is aware, we have made arrangements to store some of that stuff electronically so that it's not being overloaded with just the sheer volume of that. So what I have done is attempt to differentiate, and Tim, if you can go on down to the bottom of page 9 is really where the changes start. The bulk of this policy is dictated either by state or federal law. What I've done here in section 8 is make a distinction between currently enrolled and undergraduate students. And the same information that we have been collecting in the past and have kept in their files, I would advise you to keep the policy the same in those for those students. While there are students, this is the information we're going to keep on them. The only thing I've added to this section is item number 13 to the list. It wasn't listed, but you are required to keep notice of any, and this sort of has the new phrasing of it after some recent statutory changes, to keep notice of any long-term suspension or expulsion, and the statute is cited there. And Mr. Shields pointed out to me that should say subject to expungement pursuant to section 9 of this policy, so I'll make that change for the second reading. And then the next part, and this is more important to the purpose that we had in proposing the amendment, is this new section D that would say for graduates or students who should have graduated, and that's not my phrasing, that's how it's put in the statute, but for students who graduated or should have graduated, the bare minimum information required by applicable law shall be in the file, and then information not required to be maintained pursuant to applicable law may, in the discretion of the principal, be disposed of. I have put in there mentioned that the board may provide for off-site and or electronic storage, just because I think you need a reflection that that's part of how you're going to deal with long-term storage. And finally, that you're going to authorize the superintendent to set a fee not to exceed $25 per request for transcripts of that electronic record. That $25 is just a cap, and that's purely, I pulled that out of the thin air, so I don't, you may want to think about whether or not that limit is too high, or I don't know. I think it's reasonable, and it also tells your superintendent to set it there or lower than that amount.
I believe we proposed charge of $7 at the high school.
And that also will give it some room to grow over time.
But basically what you put, it can be set by the superintendent, it's not to exceed that amount.
Correct.
Then can it be individual at school, like maybe, with their system, we don't charge for that, and have the need to?
Sure. The reason that we charge that at Franklin High School is because that was roughly the charge to have those records processed and stored electronically.
But you could choose and continue to keep it different if we needed to, or does it have to be across the level?
I think we're basically discretion of the superintendent.
And I think if he set it at an amount that just pays our cost in it, so that, and that could be different depending on the school, depending on how it's stored.
John, can I throw one thing out?
Sure.
Not being trying to be critical. You said information required to be maintained mainly at the discretion of the principal. I think I'd like to protect both our principal and whatever, well, I said discretion, I think, and also as approved by the superintendent to be in there. Like have a stopgap where our principal, if he made a decision, it might come back on us. I'd rather have another set of eyes looking at those decisions. Am I being unreasonable when I say that? Information required to be maintained for its make and discretion be disposed of. I'd rather have language also and as approved by the superintendent be put in there personally, just to make sure that the principal is also talking to Chris, make sure we've got it's being reviewed by another set of eyes prior to doing something.
Sure, I think that's reasonable. We could say, if it would be okay with the board, it could say in the discretion of the principal in consultation with the superintendent.
I had a couple of questions, Chairman.
Yes, in this section?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead, Mr. Chair.
What I'm about to say has nothing about to John Henning, he's just the guru that has to give the clarification. But this is the first read, and I need some explanation. I asked Mr. Jetter to stay, Mr. Maslin to stay, Mr. Woody to stay, definition of expungement?
I would think expungement would mean total removal of any information that is being expunged.
Okay, so when we're talking about that, that means something's going to leave that behavioral folder. Does expungement have an age limit?
And I should clarify that with you, an age limit in terms of who it can apply to or who can
I
apply
see
to.
here where a 16-year-old can write a letter and have their file expunged. Is that a?
I guess
minimum
theoretically
age?
they could come, it's a minimum age, and I think they could come back at any age and try to expunge a record.
Yes. Long-term suspension is 10 days or more. It can be up to a year. That's important to you. Long-term suspension or expulsion, which can be forever and ever. Now, if a person has gone through this long-term suspension or expulsion, and it's in their records, they can take it out. It can be expunged.
They
Verification.
can apply to have it taken out, but it stays within the superintendent's discretion. And let me clarify for the rest of the board that this whole section is virtually verbatim to what is in state statute. So we really do not have any choice but to have an expungement policy, and if you couldn't really vary it from what we have.
Okay, number 5. When a transfer student comes to your school and the records, you said this is only for North Carolina?
Yes, sir. It's in North Carolina.
If you get a transfer student from another school in North Carolina and they've had their records expunged, you're going to have a void in their behavior. It's going to be gone. What concerns me, you have a lot of transfers coming in and out. 3 things we usually ask about, other than health things, is academic attendance and behavior. Now, if we cannot ask about this person's behavior anymore because it's gone, it could be a person who's a criminal, a felony. It could be anyone that has gone through the court system. They have served time. A lot of things that could be there. There's no record of it. It's been taken out there. So the integrity, what my concern is, how do you maintain the integrity of your safe school? How do you maintain the integrity of your sports program? How are you going to question if it's gone? The question concerning their suspension or long-term suspension and expulsion is not a topic. Even though they may have robbed somebody, done all these things, they can have it expunged from their record, and you won't have access to it.
And I'll point out though that, and I hope that the answer is, and certainly if Dr. Baldwin came to me and said, junior in high school, Franklin High School, Hannibal Lecter is applying to get this taken out of the file, I'm going to point out to him that there are several criteria that have to be met, and one of those is the superintendent determines that the maintenance of the record is no longer needed to maintain safe and orderly schools. That's how we'll handle it. I don't have a full answer for you about how that information can be discovered. It won't be in another file. If it got expunged in Durham County Schools and the students here, we won't have it, and that's true.
So
But we won't be expunging those records. For all kinds of students.
guess the major concern I have is a transfer in or somewhere like that. Maintain the integrity of your sports program, your school clubs, those type of things. I think some of us been in the high school arena. We've had a number of transfers that have come in. And when you look at the behavior, they're definitely in the criminal element. It could be gangs or what it may be. That information's not there for you anymore. So I don't know how to tell you to get it, other than you have to rely on the superintendent to, they don't have to give you the information from what I understand, because it's not on the record. So if someone comes to Macon High School tomorrow, someplace in North Carolina, and you ask about, you want to know about your attendance, you want to know about your academics, and also about your behavior, if they've used this process, they can say, I'm a number one citizen. And they could have just walked out of jail. There's not anything you can do about it. So it's just there that concerns me when we talk about expunging of disciplinary records. That people can come into your school, unsettle your school through rumors or whatever it may be. So it's there, and you may want to, when we adopt this, you may want to go back and really look at this page, what was it, 8 through 11 or 9 through 11, and look at that again, on page 11. And it's, the number 4 there, I think, gives the breathing room to Mr. Baldwin, or 9-4, Roman number 9-4, gives you breathing room right there. But you could easily end up in a critical, unsafe situation. There's not a lot of stuff, not a lot of things you can do about it other than working through the superintendent.
I think with all you, Dr. Ball, we're going to keep the current files as is. The ones we have for current students, we're not going to change any of that. The thing we're looking at is once a student graduates Franklin High School, what do we have to keep in their electronic file, for future down the road. But there's no plans. Somebody brought that to a request, but the active files we have on current students at Franklin High School will stay just like they are now, whatever's in them. The only files we're trying to put in storage is the ones once the student graduates. What do we do with the file at that time? But I understand your concern. I mean, I'm relying on another administrator and another principal, another superintendent when the student transfers into our school system, if they've gone through this process.
They don't have to reveal the behavior history if they've gone through the process. Then again, but I think that number 4 there gives you the flexibility to, in the last paragraph number 3, decision regarding the requested information. Request
3 and 4.
I think they give you flexibility. But then again, you're going to have to catch it.
Well, as Mr. Woody said, we will not be expunging any records of current students. We will be relying on other principals and superintendents across the state to honor that same sort of thought process with other schools.
I'd like to know what the Athletic Association, what their feelings on this. Mr. Moore, if you contact you or somebody, just kind of see what's happening on the state. It's just not happening here. But you're in a situation, because of the Athletic Association, if you, in their book, if you have a felony, you've lost all 4 years. But if that person comes in your school and they've got a felony and they've had it expunged, they can participate. Mr. Mayor?
In that line, if we have a student who moves in, if we have a student who fails a drug test and is suspended, does that go in there? That was something I'm wondering.
I don't think we've ever put results of an athletic drug test.
So if we had an athlete who moved in from somewhere and was suspended for that because of failure, I know we honor suspensions from other places, but we honor something like that.
It's a good question. I don't think we've ever really had that problem, or I don't think that's been addressed.
But I know
that's
the
a good
coach would be
question.
nice to know if you had someone coming in, or
But if you do long-term, you do long-term suspension and expulsion, usually that's for a criminal activity. And, but if you can't put your hands on some information that verifies that, because it's been expunged, it's tough.
Let me take a step on the wild side here, John. Tommy's got my money. When is the criminal record, when do those start being public record? Or is there, as far as a minor, is that a public record, or what age does that take place?
I don't know that a minor criminal record, I think they may even automatically be expunged for most things.
I was wondering, that comes under Child Department Services and that type of it.
I don't know, I can't give you can't give you a statutory reading. I don't know off the top of my head, but I know that they are generally very careful with those in terms of if it can be closed, it's closed, and if it can be expunged, it generally.
This is just sort of a very disturbing point, and I guess where I'm headed, my question is, we're talking about in your area now,
Mm-hmm.
is there anything that this board could adopt to try to help give us some protection, such as authorization of criminal records being pulled, or is there anything that we haven't addressed that could help us in this whole arena to try to guard the safety of our students? I mean, I don't, as a parent, the thought that something like that could happen sends chills up and down my spine. So is there anything that we can look at?
Well, I think that there are some things in place. I mean, one, I think that superintendents are not generally going to expunge just because they can and just because they're asked to. If it's, Hannibal Lecter Jr. in high school, they're not going to just expunge it. But I'll ask around about that and see if how often expungements happen. As far as discretion,
Those projects for the upcoming school year. In your packet is the original request, which was $297,035. Highlighted, they highlighted the items that in previous discussions we spoke about in reference to the county manager's recommendation to the county commissioners. His recommendation was $199,035. We identified those 5 highlighted items there as priorities at that time. Currently, under the current appropriation of $99,035, if you looked at window replacement at Franklin High School, the Highlands replacement of the gym roof, and the district-wide security measures, that would take up the entire $99,035. That fits in terms of what their appropriation was. I've spoken with David, and he's here to comment about the priority of the projects that we have remaining. And he felt like that those 3 items that were identified were appropriate. The HVAC system at the middle school is in jeopardy, and David has some serious questions about whether or not to make it through the school year. We've also got the possibility of the current legislation that the state may help us in terms of panic alarms and that sort of thing with those security measures. But those would be the 3 that do fit the county appropriation the best.
Would you mention those 3 again?
The window replacement and repair is $30,000. The Highlands replacement of the roof, $29,035, and then the district-wide security measures of $40,000, add up to $99,035.
The Highlands roof estimate was given in March before the budget work session, and I did check with the roofing contractors today, and it is current, so the price is held at the same price as from the first of the year.
The Nantahala door from the stage to the shop is on this list, and we did discuss it as a priority. And we can look at any of these priorities as far as I'm aware, and make the adjustments on this priority.
What was included in the district-wide security measures?
We've been looking at the details about
today, and we'll have to get Terry Bell and make a determination of exactly what is approved and not.
So that can be reduced to 35, you pick up and down ahead of the door.
I was just wondering if that would be considered a security measure, that door.
Well, and it may have been, it's just separate. The security estimate that's in that budget that came about with a couple of the principals and Terry Bell working on it.
The bulk of that was reconfiguring the lobbies.
Reconfiguring the lobbies to restrict access directly to the outside personnel. And it's pretty bare bones, actually. And I realize that our funds have been pared down drastically, but those items, as Dr. Baldwin said, are my pick of the priorities for that expenditure.
Dave, I'm a little confused. You're saying those are above the 75,000 for the middle grade?
No, that
HVAC?
the HVAC at the middle grades, we will have to classify that as an emergency situation and take that off the table right at the moment. Go with the three priority items: the restricted access for security, the Highlands gym roof, and the window problems at Franklin High School.
I would hope that if at some point during the school year, that HVAC system does go out at the middle school, at that time we would go to the county commissioners and make an emergency request, which I would hope that they would honor, considering how careful outlay appropriation this year.
Go back over again about the Nantahala door from the stage to the shop.
That was in a budget workshop session that we looked at from some of the Cartiga J money that was maybe available before we decided on, before the board was looking at what might be available from the county for these different expenditures, and then that money is not
And that's why it was on here separate for discussion, because we had discussed that as a priority and had also discussed using Cartiga J monies, but didn't take a vote.
So we need to pull it out, vote on using Cartiga J monies for this one.
And the reason that came up for discussion, Ms. Shields, is if that's going to be completed before students come back, I need to get the stuff ordered right away to make it happen.
Well, if we're going to use a different combination of these projects, we're probably going to have to dip into Cartiga J money. So if there's a decision to go with another combination of projects on this list, then at that time we have to also decide how much Cartiga J money we want to think of each project.
And how much is that?
Ask Angie a question. Correct me if I'm wrong, Angie, last year and a couple years before that, was these things prioritized where we were told that that's what we had to do? That's where the money for capital outlay would go to? And basically, if that was changed, we had to come back and request changes? Or this year, have we such that this is the amount and there's no stipulations on that?
No.
You know?
We were told we had to break it down into these three categories. The building construction renovations being category 1, furniture, machines, and equipment being category 2, and buses and other vehicles being category 3. And if we were to vary off of any of those categories on what was approved and appropriated for, then we had to go back to them and ask for approval to switch money from different categories.
But
So for
this, what we
example-
have here is not the priority that we placed when we were submitting. If I remember right, what we did was we had certain things
Yes.
that we put on and we had those prioritized, like, I hope I'm not misquoted here, but like security measures was not one of the top priorities that we had, or is my memory totally whack? We talked about it, but that was not one of our override.
Well, we did talk about the security measures, and if you'll remember, Mr. Bell and
Right.
Mr. Bowles and a committee went around to see what it was, and it was a lot more than the $40,000.
But did we have this as one of our priorities, Dr. Baldwin? I don't think that the security, I didn't think it was one of our top priorities. Am I
No,
missing
but-
something?
No. I can do is it made it to this list.
Right.
And also, after the county manager's recommendation to the board, we did have it as one of the 5 priorities at that time.
I think it was understood that we would appropriate at least $40,000 towards security.
Yeah, because I think that the reason that we have not changed this part here, well, please correct me if I'm wrong, but because we thought the county was going to take that as a totally different thing and do it. That's right. Otherwise, we would have, I think we discussed putting it back in the priority, and then they wanted us.
I guess I'm wrong, I didn't think we had this was brought up. I thought we had submitted the list where we had some things in front of that particular category as priority, and then while this was added, and did that at a later point, I thought we had some other priorities in front of that.
In terms of the top 5 priorities, that was just a discussion that we had as a board in trying to determine how to best spend that $199,000 that the county manager originally recommended for appropriation. That was the 5, these are the 5 that we discussed at that time, as fitting that $199,000 allocation.
I think some disagreeable, but I don't know that that met our priority. We figured out that was what our county manager was looking at, and that's where we had the 199 recommendation.
That's probably true.
But I guess some question was that our priority that we actually submitted, my memory was that was not the top, one of the top priorities. We had things such as,
and it may have been, I don't think that we've actually discussed priorities since we submitted the $297,000. We did have that discussion.
yes. Okay.
And they highlighted items that we discussed at that time, but we did not set priorities.
But I thought we had 297, and this was one that was part of it, that was not one of our top priorities. I thought we had a listing
We had it listed
of
as
the 297 where we had put priority, and it was different than this, and I'm not trying to call it what, but that's what my memory is.
I think that you are correct in that assumption from my memory from our budget sessions, because at the time we were hoping to assume that the county, through Mr. Bell and the principal committee, by submitting their recommendations to the Board of Commissioners, would be able to secure.
You're here under good behavior only, and if there's anything that's a misbehavior, they can be, back out of this district without much process. But, if they live here and they're not been expelled, I don't even know. There's a lot of questions in here that we've not had to confront, thankfully, and hopefully never do. But I don't know that if you're expelled, even just having an expunged from your record is going to be. There would be a whole lot of indications. I mean, there would, like their student. You went to look at their student records from the state, they would look mighty odd.
No credit for their senior.
Exactly. I think there'd be a lot of different indications that something was maybe not quite right. And I don't know, like I say, my biggest hope is that other superintendents take the view that, for one thing, these records are not, the student records are never public, ever. So it's not like an ongoing criminal record that's kept in the courthouse and might somehow eventually be subject to public inspection. FERPA says we keep our student records separate from everything, and they're never public. So I don't even know why you would particularly care to pursue that expungement. I really don't. And if it's only we as a district where students coming in would be allowed to look at that record, but I don't know exactly. Certainly happy to look into.
I guess I'm going to end it by saying, would you, if you can think of anything that would, along the lines of what Gary is saying, the rest of the board may let him say quit spending their money or whatever. I'd feel much better if you can think of anything else that we might do to help protect our students, then by all means, I think that's something we should consider.
Yes, sir.
Anything else, John, that you want to point out on our
No, sir.
on the changes? That's pretty much the changes that you were making, correct?
Yes.
Any board member have any other questions of Mr. Henning? This is the first reading we brought back, so if you have a chance to look at it when it comes up, by all means, I think we can ask those questions. First reading, and we will then have the second reading at the next meeting for acceptance.
Yes.
That'll be on the
Yes. Yes. All right, moving forward, Boys and Girls Club.
Mr. Chairman, I think we need a motion
Do I
and a vote to pass
Do
on.
we have a motion to accept this as the first reading?
Motion to accept this first reading.
Second. Have a motion, second, all in favor? Any opposed? So moved. Thank you, Jonas. Now, am I right, Boys and Girls Club? Am I right? We rearranged our schedule a bit. I've been working with Nancy.
And I'm actually going to defer to Jennifer and Amanda.
Okay.
But help them out if they need help.
Okay, so just to briefly give you some basic background, this really started with Reclaiming Futures, who is a part of Darien Springs, and actually started late last year. And we kind of partnered with them. Reclaiming Futures is a program where they identify students who are currently within the court system. So these students have already had various substance abuse issues, charges, and are in the court system. And what Reclaiming Futures does is it hooks these students up with local community stakeholders within the community, including volunteers, to help mentor these students to get back onto a better path. And obviously, a logical stakeholder in this would be the school system and other agencies. REACH would be a logical stakeholder. Other places that are working with students. And hopefully, the idea between Reclaiming Futures is that through mentorship and identifying different positive activities they can be involved in, that they would then make different choices, helping increase graduation rates, et cetera, et cetera. So what we are here today is from this, we were looking at kind of, okay, well, what do we want that to look like in Macon County? And one of the things that we came up with that we would like your blessing in pursuing, this is not saying, you know, the school system is partnering with this. This is not saying that the school system is saying, yes, we're going to move forward with doing this. It is just basically saying, yes, we say it's okay for you to use this year to kind of plan and bring some information together. And that is looking at having a Boys and Girls Club located in Macon County. And there are other areas locally that have Boys and Girls Clubs. Brevard is one, and Swain County has a Boys and Girls Club, and Cherokee. And it's not to just so that you kind of have that information up front, it's to really fill in the gaps. So the Boys and Girls Club would be working primarily at this planning stage with 7th to 12th grade students. So it's not interfering with VIP, that's not the point. What we did not want to do is to start asking questions and talking to local community members and stakeholders, and you all not be informed that that was something that we were looking at doing, specifically when some of your school employees would be the ones that would be an integral part of asking those questions. I could think of nothing worse than being somewhere and I could, for instance, I could see my boss at REACH saying to a board member, oh yeah, I hear you all are looking at doing this Boys and Girls Club, and a board member's like, I don't know what you're talking about. So again, this is not saying we're moving forward with anything, we're not doing anything on behalf of the school system. We are just wanting your blessing in starting to make some connections as far as if this is even a viable option. Is it something Macon County wants? Is it something that could benefit the entire county and all of the students located therein? That's kind of a brief synopsis of this in general. Do y'all have questions about anything? We just really wanted to be respectful of the board and make sure that that was out front so that you understood, if you heard within the community Boys and Girls Club, that you knew where that was coming from and why we feel, obviously I coach, but there are a lot of students who are involved in athletics and are involved in extracurricular activities, and a Boys and Girls Club would offer a great mentoring opportunity for those students who kind of don't have a niche within our county right now.
Is this 9-12?
7-12.
7-12.
Yes, sir. It would not interfere with VIP. That was not, we don't want to compete with that. This is to fill in the gap that we have right now.
So basically, y'all are going to be exploring it, Jennifer, and that, I think, and I'm not trying to insult you when I ask this question.
No, that's okay.
You are planning on keeping Mr. Woody and all the other facets of our current administration up to speed with what y'all are finding, and they're going to be an integral part of doing this, correct?
What we discussed right now is that we're looking at a year-long planning process, and within that year-long planning process, there's going to be different steps. You know, we need to identify stakeholders, and obviously Mr. Woody would be heavily involved in that process, and the administration would be heavily involved in that process. And then, you know, at some point, it may become appropriate to look at funding. How are we gonna fund this? Well, obviously, that would have to be something that the school system is involved in. We are not wanting this to be something financially that the school system has to put into. We're wanting this to be something that is outside and separate from Macon County Schools. But in order for us to start the process, obviously, some of your employees have to be involved in getting the ball rolling. At some point, we'd like for it to be independent, just like REACH is a nonprofit independent entity. The Boys and Girls Club would also be self-sufficient, self-funded, and independent from the school system. The school system would simply be a stakeholder in that process, just like REACH would be, or other Kids Place, I would imagine, would be a huge stakeholder, those types of agencies. Any other questions?
We just not give our blessing for the proceed. I'll take anything official vote as such, but think of information.
And we'll keep coming to you with information as we gather it, and so keep you up to date.
Good. All right. Anyone else? As usual, ask the questions. Curriculum and instruction. I don't see anything on our agenda. Dr. Baldwin, is there anything on that? Okay. Buildings and grounds. Franklin, the Chamber of Commerce bus usage. We know this is Dr. We had a chance to look it over. I think we've done this.
This is pretty typical things that we've done as far as the Chamber of Commerce is concerned, letting them use two activity buses. We do that with various organizations and festivals for transportation.
Motion to approve.
Motion, say all in favor. Any opposed? So moved. Security door, Nana Halen.
Pleasure board, I can just combine those two items, next two items.
Kept outline.
Yes.
I think that's totally appropriate. Mine certainly. Door comes under that very category.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, as you recall, our original capital outlay request was not fully funded by Macon County. Our final current or capital outlay appropriation.
Our priorities that we have. And I guess that's what my question is. So are we still bound with even the fact that we only got 99,000? Correct me if I'm wrong, Angie. Did you understand the question?
Yes.
So I thought another thing that we had, that part of the resolution we had sent to the board was asking for flexibility not only on the supplement, which we have, but I thought it also included the capital outlay that we had discretion about making choices about where they go to. Is that not correct?
I don't think it was about the capital outlay. It was about the supplements, but I don't recall it being that way with the capital outlay. In answer to your question, I think that we could create a new list of our priorities based on the 99,000 and take that to them.
That's my mistake. We should have had that as part of it. I failed to do so. Just not give me, I didn't do that when we were talking
And
about.
if you all chose to
the
not
resolution to do that. So first, I guess for me, I'm sorry for the late time, but I feel like we have to seriously consider this. And my personal feelings are, while I understand the need for security, I most certainly also understand the need that we have to provide safety to our children and our buildings and some other things that, frankly, to me, override that. And Dr. Duncan said, I'm sorry, Chris, Dr. Baldwin is saying there may be some hope that some funding for some security measures may be coming in the future.
In the comprehensive budget today, there is a line item in there that discusses SROs and also panic programs. There's an appropriation. The exact amount. You
9
have-
million.
what's that?
9 million statewide.
9 million this year, but it increases next year, is that right? Is that the one we're looking at?
I don't have that
2013,
one.
14?
I don't have that.
There is
on
an
this
appropriation for
one.
panic alarms and the one-to-one matching grant for SROs over there.
I have a question. So these in highlighted, is this what the county commissioners has said we can spend this money on, or is this what you decided that was?
It's not what I've decided, or what the county commissioners have said. Basically, we got together after the county manager's recommendation. We discussed that these five items that are highlighted here were probably what the county commissioners were thinking, because that added up to $199,035 $199,035. At that time, we didn't discuss that as being a priority for us. And what I've done today is just simply identify the 3 items of those 4 that add up to $99,035. I would say that in light of the safety and security issues that we've had this past school year, I do think that we need to look at improving the security of our schools. I don't know that at the amount of $40,000, and I think with the state legislation currently in question, and even, I don't know where the county is in terms of meeting some security needs that was identified by Mr. Bell and those principals. So there are some questions about what we have available or what's coming to us in terms of security measures, other than what's been appropriated.
Sorry about that, Dr. Bowman. What the $9 million is, it breaks down as $7 million in recurring support for school resource officers in elementary and middle schools, and $2 million for installing and maintaining panic alarms in public schools. So it's like a $7 million will be is for salaries, and the $2 million is probably a non-recurring one shot.
By the time you spread that over 100 counties, it's not a
It does not sound like a lot, no.
You can probably do it based on ADM and other factors in terms of how they allot that to be level.
Well, I would like to say that I think that the door from the stage to the shop at Nantahala School is very important, because those kids, if they're in the shop and anything happens, those kids are gonna have to go outside to get into the school building. And I think that is dangerous. And I feel like that's very important, for our school over there. I'd like to somehow work that out.
You've got a lockdown, they can't even get in.
No, they can't. They will have to go, and if there was someone outside with a gun and those kids were in the shop, the only way they have got to get into the school and secure is to go outside. And that's very unsafe. That door, I think, is very important over there. Everything else that on there that we requested, is not priority, but to me, that seems like priority for our school.
Can we look at carpentry funds?
Oh, yeah, I mean, that's a small amount of money.
Mr. Curtis,
Right.
I heard Mr. Curtis, a little urgency in his voice there a while ago, that if he's expected to do this, that he needs to
know.
And it was previously discussed as a priority and for using the carpentry funds, we couldn't find it in the minutes or things that we approved.
Could we just make a motion right now to use Cartier money?
For that amount, yes.
I make a motion that we use Cartier funds to get an Nantahala door from stage to shop to have more secure school at Nantahala. I'll say that.
All in favor, saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? So moved. Mrs. Ford,
Thank
headed.
you.
David, let me ask you another question.
Yes, sir.
Windows, at FHS windows replacement repairs, how extensive is that, and then what are we going to be able to do for $30,000?
The window balances that actually hold the windows up from falling down on the student in the main building will all be replaced. And then we have the storefront windows and the larger windows in the career center, the media center, and else various places all through the campus are cracked and broken. Actually, we got holes shot through them, and they will all be replaced. So it'll be all the windows that are letting energy go will be fixed. It's not a window replacement per se in the main building, but it's a window fix.
My concern with that is that we're basically repairing the windows at Franklin High School, the main building, that we've decided is a priority to replace at both Nantahala and Highlands. And if we make the decision to repair those windows at this point, at what point do you think, David, we're not achieving cost benefit in terms of energy efficiency?
To back up to the 2 year ago renovation at Franklin High School, that was actually in the request for that building and didn't get funded for window replacement for the main building at high school.
I believe the breakdown was $16,000 for the main building windows, and what was the what was it, you remember the careers and media center? Just the-
I don't have the
12.
figures in front of me, but that's the replacement parts.
12,000 to replace those broken windows. That to me is a priority, and there are some safety issues with those windows in the main building, but I would prefer to see those be replaced.
They need to be replaced. We actually requested that when the renovation from 2 school years ago.
I think we're getting to where I was headed with it. So the 30,000 is just gonna be repair.
Yes, sir.
To really do what we need to do over there, we need to replace some windows, and that's how much, Dr. Baldwin, if I understood your question, to get to where we need to get to?
To replace the windows, we're probably looking at
Double Nantahala,
$20,000.
$150,000 to $200,000 to replace the windows in the main building.
Let me be a little bit more clear. Dr. Baldwin made a statement, David, I'm gonna ask you, I'm gonna put you on the spot here, made a statement that we have windows that could very easily result in an injury to a student. Am I quoting that correctly?
They have resulted in
Instant injury. So I guess what I'm trying to ask is, if we, out of 30,000, I may be putting you in a spot you can't answer this question, I'm not even sure how to phrase it myself. Are there certain windows that are worse than others that absolutely need to be replaced right now to avoid the very thing I'm describing?
The safety issue with the windows can be, in that figure, can be repaired, not replaced, that's the wrong way to put it. Where the safety issue goes away, but the windows will be the same.
Is repairing just putting off something that might, down the road, is gonna need to be fixed anyway?
What if we repaired the windows that the ballots are currently inoperable right now?
That's out of the building itself, that is approximately 90 windows.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Good Lord.
We did a walkthrough, and the vast majority of the windows in the main building are inoperable. As far as if you push the sash up, they fall. Now you're sharing my pain.
And the boys' dressing room at Macon Middle School, David, right now, we have another situation where there could be some injuries in there, is that right?
It's possible.
Describe to him, God, don't we have a weight machine that's in there, and, I mean, the dressing room is almost inoperable, or as far as being able to use what it was intended, that can't take place right now,
It is
is that
now a
right?
weight room more so than a dressing room.
How long has it been configured? How long has it been configured as a weight room?
2 school years.
So this change was made 2 years ago,
Yes,
you understand right?
that change was made a couple of years ago, maybe 3 years now. I can't pin it down.
I guess I'm about to say something, kind of closing the door after it's over. Did we approve that?
I don't know that you approved it after multiple requests. It was requested to be done. Multiple requests from the school level.
Talk about changing the weight room, the dressing room to weight room?
Yes, sir.
My mind went to 10 years. Because that weight came out of the top of the high school in the balcony area, and we took it over there when we started our program in the early 90s or mid-90s in there.
It's only the existing, the lockers that were in there were trashed. They were to the point of being, needed to be hauled to the dump anyway. Because of just wear and tear from the years, and the weights were moved from the Franklin High School upstairs area when we enlarged the weights and girls dressing part about 3 or 4 years ago. They were moved to that, and the weight room was made from, the dressing room was made into a weight room.
So what are our boys using as a dressing room?
They have some lockers on the perimeter of the dressing area and some benches just on the outside wall.
Is there enough to service the kids?
No.
You make my pain level to what? You understand that, right? Paul, what you're asking to do tonight is to prioritize for you, is that correct?
Yeah, and we could direct David to move forward with one or more of these projects and then come back and decide on the priority of the other projects. So we'll know later. If you felt like there was something that was a priority, then we need to move on. With some urgency, we go ahead and do that and decide on that.
That's really the only thing that I was here to ask with Dr. Baldwin tonight is some direction on how you want to proceed, because time's drawing nigh on the kids coming back.
How long will it take for the Franklin High School window replacement and repairs? It's about a 6-month job?
No, it's not. We get started on it immediately, pretty much. We could probably have everything done before the children come back completely.
I think we need to proceed on the windows for Franklin High School because you have said multiple times, Chris, that that was a danger. I think there's much question about doing that.
The only hesitancy that I have in that is I would prefer new windows. And I would hope that the county would replace those windows. If obviously they're not going to do it this school year, but I would like to. Well, they are a safety issue right now. But, how long, if we do repair those windows, Dave, how long, what kind of lifespan do they have? Especially in terms of these are the windows, the same windows that we're replacing at Highlands and we just replaced at Hale. They're the same age.
Realistically, you could get another 2 or 3 years out of it, or 4.
So you're saying possibly, if I'm understanding you correctly, let's hold off. You're thinking, okay, should I hold off a year in hopes that I'll get new ones next year? And what would you say is the safety concern for the year? Does that you too, Dr. Baldwin, and to you, Mr. Woody?
That is the dilemma that we're in. Those windows have been in that shape for how long would you estimate, Mr. Shields?
18 years.
Why do we have to raise them more anyway?
I need to ask the indulgence of the board. I'm going to have to excuse myself just for a second. I've got a phone call coming. I'm afraid something might be going on, so if y'all continue on, I'll be back as quick as I can.
Let's spend the money real quick. What you
I mean, do these rooms have air conditioning?
Yes.
Why can't we just lock them down and keep them shut?
That's another problem. Lock it.
Got a big nail? I mean, I think very simple, but.
We tried the big nail and got written up for it.
Didn't work. OSHA come in.
If the board directs that they be non-operable as far as opening, that's a simple fix too.
I don't believe
We could just.
our friend will allow us to make them in that situation. I did it, and I had to take the nails back out. Well, you could push them out, but in a fire emergency or somewhere like that, then they had to be.
But half of them are on the second story and you can't jump out anyhow, so.
If it's on fire,
Well, Mr. Woody, what is your, just stop. What, I mean, are you in the same thought process as Chris? Take a chance and wait a year and I know Chris is not even totally convinced of that because he's sitting up there arguing with himself right now. Go ahead and get it repaired or, so I'm like.
You don't know the money situation in the future. I mean, I'm kind of leaning safety of the students, as well as you can to take care of them right now for the safety of the school year. But you just say it's getting totally new vendors. I understand that too.
Would we go back to the county in 2 years and request new windows at the main building? And if we do that, we just made it $18,000 in repairs. I would like to move forward with replacing those broken and damaged windows in the careers building in the media center. That's just for discussion for the board.
I think from the legal standpoint, if somebody got injured and you were doing a good faith effort to correct the situation, I'd be more comfortable in front of the judge saying that, other than I delayed it. I hope we had a windfall next year or something. I think a good faith effort keeps us less of a liability because you're trying to correct the problem.
especially when your other prospect is that we're gonna have more money, and that's,
Yeah.
things are not going that way.
I like your thought process, Chris, but I can see where concerns, kind of like you do it at your house, if you're gonna spend it 2 years, you don't wanna spend, you wait, but you cannot be taking chances with the same things. And Chris was on the line anyway, I wasn't trying to put Chris on the spot, he did not say that's what he wanted to do, he was just running it through his head, what's the best, he was just looking out for the county commissioners, what the best to go. We were asking them about the windows at Franklin High School, whether we should spend that money and whether should we wait for 2 years to think that we're gonna get them replaced. And the concern was.
And $18,000 in terms of the repair, that might get us through a couple, 3 years is not a bad investment at all.
Okay, then I'm gonna go back to the fact, let's make a motion to at least, and we could, or not, maybe not even the motion yet, but go ahead and say that out of this is one of the things we're gonna go ahead and instruct them to start on, because that's 30,000. And then if it comes in less than that, great, but I feel like we should not.
What was it, 18 was for the main building repairs, and 16, 12 was for the careers and media.
Are the careers and media in the same situation?
We're the-
It's a safety issue?
You're broke, crap.
David?
Yeah, losing energy, so
Well,
definitely those replaced.
yeah, so I would say the 30,000, I think that it is apparent that needs to be done.
We had 2,000 discrepancy, January. We had, Chris said we had 1601 and what was, I'm sorry,
David,
Chris, what was the other?
can you help me out here? You got window repair, FHS main building, 16,000, career center, media, cafeteria, 12,000. Where's those? other
28.
two?
Then the request was for 30.
Did we just round it up to do 30, or since it was 28?
That was just
I understand. I think you're smart.
an
to do
installation,
that.
hopeful
Right. I
guess.
think rounding up is the best thing to do, because I got a feeling it's gonna cost more than what, you never know once you get in that stuff, it always.
The installation part of it, on the big glass, you have to have the companies that install it, cut it, and then, because if they cut it wrong, it's their problem,
Right.
and then they charge.
Right, so will the board then 30,000 should be one of the top priorities, am I understanding right? Any disagreement with that? I think that's what I chose. The roof, no, Jim, I think we've determined there's an ongoing leak that go in there, and we're gonna have some serious issues down the road, so there's really no choice in that. I'm aware of.
That's pretty much a gimme right there.
Right, so,
59,035.
District-wide security measures is a commitment I think was made to the public that we will try to do something in the security areas regarding our school. We may not be on record, but I think the county's on record, so I think we're on record that we will pursue security type things.
And that just goes back to the argument for the windows at the high school.
I think the three that Dr. Mullen had there about the Franklin High School windows, Highlands replacement and district-wide security, that equals $99,035. And that eats up the monies. And we.
Also, when it's $3,500 of cartridge jack money.
Right, our project deck. So I think we've been wise in the way we spent the money.
can I disagree with you, Mr. Shields?
Yes, sir.
I understand totally what you're saying. However, I find it appalling that we have children in our middle grade that are not, they're basically, we're using the dressing room in the condition that it's being described to me. That we're basically not, it's just, it sounds to me like something needs to be done. Maybe I'm being wrong, but I'm putting David back on the spot.
The boys' side does not have a dressing area.
Period.
Essentially, and that they don't have a dressing area.
And to me, doing things for our children while security is utmost in my mind also, don't get me wrong. I have a hard time taking that amount without any consideration given to improving a situation we have like that, is a direct effect on there's probably what, 300 boys in there, or 300 plus kids being affected by what we're talking about? Or enrollment, there's over 600 students.
Yeah, at any given time, there's 4 classes of 25 students in there at any given time. So there's 100 children in that gym, probably half boys, half girls.
If we were to say a 50-50 split, 20 on that, what can be done for 20,000 there at the middle grade, David? Can we almost get there or no?
I would have to price the lockers. They're expensive, but it would make a big deal in it, yes.
I'm sorry, Michelle, I'm saying, to me, the priority on that, it takes as much precedence as anything else right now, because as I said, if you want to say that has a direct impact on the students. But that's just my thoughts, I'll shut up now. Okay, Ben, where'd you say much?
We're broke, what are we gonna do about it? I'm like you, security, I've always said that some idiot's gonna try to keep somebody up. I don't care how much security you got, I ain't sure we can stop it. And if we can help our kids immediately, and I'm like you, I believe in security too, but maybe the county through the church department, whatever, will try to help on security.
We got another SR, because I think this is doing some things like access into it. I don't mind giving money, but it's just, I'm repeating myself, I have a hard time overlooking what's a direct impact on kids. Melissa, you haven't had much to say. I'm trying to have everybody.
Well, I've obviously, I haven't seen the situation at the middle school, but it sounds like it's dangerous for them.
Pretty deplorable.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard for me to give an opinion on it, I haven't even seen it, but it sounds to me like they're concerned.
Sutton's there. Mr. Sutton. Here's all kinds of big coast there.
The only thing I'd say, and I don't know if it may have already been done. I mean, it sounds like the windows are in pretty bad shape and they've been there, I don't know how long.
I'm talking about the middle grade.
Middle grade? Oh, middle grade? It's bad. I mean, it's not a dressing room. It's weight room. I mean, you can go in there and change clothes, but that's basically not what that room is for right now. It's a huge weight system in there. I don't know why they decided to put there. It's the only place they had to put it. You moved out of the hospital gym. But it's, I certainly wouldn't consider it being a dressing room. I mean, that's where the athletic teams go when they change clothes, put their uniforms on, stuff like that. Boys do, but really not that.
So if we change that back to dressing room, we got any place over there to put the weights?
Not that I'm aware of.
What's in that base here now?
Does anybody use the weights? Are they used?
They do use it in heat.
Wish Mr. Maslin was still here, I'd like to ask that question, if he had any other alternative plans might be available. Chris, is this something that we could, as long as we give you a priority about the windows and the gym, will that be enough that we can withhold making any other action on the remainder of capital outlay until the next meeting if we've
I
had a
need you
chance to ask
some more
questions?
information about the dressing room and also about the security measures.
All right, well, I would do. I think that would be my preference.
We could even, as far as that goes, we could wait until the September meeting on that information.
I think that'd be good, because you need everybody to.
Yeah. Of course, I'm not going to speak, but that would be my preference, board members. I think this time, I think we have some other issues I think we need to look at before we set priorities. So I think what I'd recommend is that we give clear direction to our superintendents that the winter replacement and hydrant replacement are priorities, and that we would table any other moves as far as prioritizing until we get more help. The superintendent has time to check into these things and bring some more information back to the board.
Then I will make a motion to Dr. Baldwin and to David to proceed with FHS window replacement and repairs at $30,000 and the Highlands replacement of the leaking roof on the old gym at $29,035. And the rest of the capital outlay funds to be looked at a later date.
I'll second.
Very good. Motion second. Any other discussion?
Did we have to include RCJ or what did we?
You already made that motion.
We already did, we had a separate motion that we proceed immediately with the door and then hands. Any other discussion?
Before we move on, can I give 30 seconds of happy news?
You most certainly can.
If anybody hadn't been to Nantahala School, they need to go look at the windows. That situation, except for a very minor trim on the inside, is finished, and they are
It looks
absolutely
good.
wonderful.
It does.
This
We'll try to
lady-
do that. I don't know when our next meeting
Everybody
over there
should,
is, but we'll-
everybody should drive over there just to look at them.
That's what we requested for the other buildings, because the windows are in Nantahala, the same thing are in Iola and Mountain View School.
Okay, we'll keep pushing, but we have a motion.
And good, one other good news, in Highlands, it appears that we will not be held up on anything as far as starting school. The only delay is gonna be slightly on windows, but that's been worked out, that windows there are gonna be replaced over the weekend in the first 2 or 3 weeks of school, but everything is A-OK, and the air conditioning in the new part is on and operable.
That's amazing. That's gonna say, we'll say, we'll get the gold medal for quite a few.
Frank Metro focus, what we have on is a motion that we prioritize the window replacements at 30,000 and the Highlands roof replacement at 29,000 at this point in time. Any other discussion? And the remainder to be then discussed further on our September meeting. All in favor, say by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? So moved. Thank you, David, for your help. I know we put you on the spot. Thank you very much. Without you, we would have been quite, I would be a little bit more nervous, shall we say. So thank you very much. Buildings and grounds, anything else, Chris, that I've missed? Okay. Business and finance, fund redistribution. Angie, Mountain View Intermediate.
Just have the one, and they're just moving their picture money into their general account.
Make a motion to approve.
Second. Motion second. All in favor? Any opposed? So moved. Change in per diem amounts. This needs to be approved. Angie, is this information that needs to be approved?
It does need to be approved. It was passed by the Office of State.
Choice, we can't tell you that you want to change
Not
it.
really.
Okay, well then I make a motion to approve it.
Let me say, all in favor? Any opposed? So moved. Thank you, nay, so there you go. Charge for driver's education. I don't see you again, Ms. Norton. Alton, are you here?
I'm definitely not Ms. Norton.
We know that.
I have been approved to, or directed to
Ask.
present this.
Okay.
And as old as I'm getting, I wrote it down so I wouldn't forget everything. Okay. Well, we had a meeting. What happened last week was I asked Ms. Norton, I've got probably 60 kids that were middle schoolers last spring, and I had them do all the paperwork to sign up to do the online course. And I was told at that point we had no more monies, we had no more slots, we had no money to buy more slots to do the online course. But I went ahead and did the paperwork and checked the eyes and all that stuff. And so they've just been, those papers have just been sitting there waiting for the board to decide, are we going to charge for driver's education or are we not? Now, last week, Dr. Baldwin, Angie, myself, and Ms. Norton met and we discussed this, and different people looked to see if the board had approved it, that we were going to charge a certain amount or whatever, and we couldn't find anything in the minutes. So this is why I'm kind of here. That's the part. I did register about 12 middle schoolers. We had that many slots left toward the end of June. I was told to do the high school students first, so I did that. Had about 12 slots left. I signed up the 12 oldest middle schoolers that were coming in as ninth graders. So we did get a few of them in there, but we still got a lot sitting there, and I'm getting calls all the time from parents. My child signed up last spring, where are we with this? So something needs to be decided. I started driver's ed late October 2011. I started doing the online course, I think that July. since I've been in it, we've had approximately 150 kids who we paid $20 for to register, that either dropped out of school, transferred to another school, aged out at age 18, or just decided, whoa, this is too much work, I'm not gonna do this. That's money down the drain for us.
Correct.
Okay? So this is, Dr. Baldwin and Angie, correct me if I'm wrong in what I say this, but we kind of decided that all Macon County Public School students should pay the $20 that it costs to go on the online course. And of course, I think we all agreed too that we're gonna make sure that is still $20, because it needs to be whatever amount it is, we are charged. That all Raven Gap students, and we added homeschoolers, but we're not 100% sure on that right now, because I was told by the Jackson County driver's ed teacher that we did get monies for homeschoolers for driver's ed, but our understanding was we didn't do that, so Angie's gonna check into that. But if we don't, we're proposing that Raven Gap students and the homeschoolers continue to be charged $245 like we're already charging the Raven Gap students at this point, because we get no money for them, and that's what we can charge. Of course, we'll go along with whatever y'all decide to do, but my main concern is not whether you do it or don't do it, charge or not charge. My concern is we need to make a decision so I can go ahead and sign up these students for driver education. I can't do that until I find out from you all whether we're going to be charging any monies or not. If you decide to charge, I will get those forms out. I'll call all the parents that have signed up and get ready, because there's probably going to be, if we start charging, there's probably going to be some people are going to complain a lot. But I'll contact, do I?
Even at the $20?
Probably some. Probably not as many as, like if we end up charging homeschoolers $245, that's probably where I think the biggest complaints would come from.
Is there a way you could do, like, the parent, like, charge them the $20, kind of along the lines of a deposit, and if they finish actually finish the course, they get the $20 back, and if they don't, they lose the $20?
We talked about that in that meeting, and that's a whole lot of work.
Is it?
I mean, it's gonna be a lot of work for the secretaries at the schools to sign them up to begin with and take the money and give me a receipt or tell me some way that they've signed up. And now they turn around and have to give a lot of it back. That's a lot of extra work for that secretary. I prefer not to do that, but if that's what y'all decide, that's what will happen.
I think $20 kind of puts a vested interest in it, and I think even if a parent can't pay it, a lot of the kids at that age have a job. $20 is doable. It's not absolutely, I mean, my children would go do a lot for $20 to make sure they can get their driver's license when they turn 16.
Well, and the state allows you, and I thought it was 45, but Angie told me a while ago it's 55 now.
Well, I think that's the
That you
proposal.
could charge up to that, and all we're doing is just charging them to take the online course.
The cost of the course
Right,
itself.
right. And really, that could, it could be a lot more money. I know you all, I think, discussed it with the commissioners about saving some money in driver's ed for that. It actually would be a lot more savings than what you were talking about. Because right now, I have 355 students online taking the course. You multiply that times 20, and that would be your savings. Plus, we had 193 to finish that and the driving this past school year.
Chris, are you in agreement to that $20 is a reasonable amount per?
Just for the board's education, I think we know that, Alan, let's expand a little bit about the reason that homeschoolers are Raven Gap or not. And Dr. Baldwin, correct me, we don't get any money, they don't bring any money from our ADM because they're not counted in our enrollment.
There's some question about the homeschoolers.
Raven Gap, we are in question right this moment about homeschoolers.
But when we talk about homeschooler, we're talking about how would they factor into funding for that? I'm a little bit confused.
There's some kind of factor that they've used in the past when we
I'm
investigated.
assuming that they're an actually registered homeschooler. with, through DPI,
Uh-huh.
that they would factor that in, because it's based on the 9th grade ADM.
And that's what
So
Jackson
they're
County,
including that
Mr.
total.
Hooper, the Jackson County driver's ed teacher told me, he said he thought that it was factored in, that non-public education department turned in the numbers of homeschoolers to the state, and he thought that we got money for that, but we're not 100% sure on that. Raven Gap students, we don't get any.
But the main thing right now is to decide we'll
Right.
charge that $20 to all of them.
Right. And even if we found out we got money for homeschoolers, we still want to be charging them $20 just like
We
most.
can come back with the homeschool.
No, actually, I was talking about the fact that, I guess I thought, I misunderstood, I thought we were also talking about possibly increasing the fee for that particular group to the $245. And did I misunderstand what you said?
Right.
Right now, we're not doing that.
Well,
That's what it's always been.
okay, we've not, the Raven Gap, you mean?
No, on both those categories. Raven Gap, I knew that we've
Raven
always
Gap,
charged.
they pay.
What about homeschoolers?
Homeschoolers have not paid anything in the past.
I'm gonna call DPI tomorrow to
Right.
verify that we do get money.
If we do that, we would,
ADM
but if we
money.
don't, then part of the answer is, do we also consider to charge that also? Am I understanding what we're saying?
Right, if we don't,
We're
we're
losing money.
recommending that you do that also like the Raven
It'll be
Gap.
the 245.
And if they do get it, then we're just recommending the $20, just like the public
Okay, so in the
schools.
motion we have, would it need to include that as part of our discussion as a subject to further verification, that if we find that homeschoolers are not getting funding, then are we voting to pass on the $245 charge to those folks to take driver's ed, along with the $20 fee to go online? Am I understanding right? So we actually got two things to consider, Ralphie.
Right.
20 and that.
Yeah.
Are we-
One or the other.
Are we at this point ready for a motion?
I am. Oh, Lord.
I would make a motion that we start charging the $20 for the driver's education. And pending what Angie finds out from the homeschooler, whether they get charged the $20 or the $245, depending on where we get funds, and continuing on with the other amount, $245 per Raven Gap students.
So, let me clarify, Mr. Collins, so what you're saying in the motion will see that if we find there is not funding from the state for homeschoolers, we will be assessing a $245 fee to that category. Am I understanding your motion right?
So is that a fair
Yeah, I mean, we're not saying charge $240, okay, let's say homeschoolers who don't get any money. We're not saying charge $245 plus the 20.
No, it is.
We're just saying the $245, but if they are getting money, we don't charge the $245, we just charge the 20.
Yes, sir.
We have a motion, let me try to correct, let me refresh that. We have a motion to assess a fee for all driver's ed, income driver's ed, $20 as enrollment to take the course. You're also saying that if we find that there are no funding to the county for homeschoolers, that we want that $20, that fee for them will be raised to $245 for that category student. Am I understanding? Is that your motion? Pending verification of whether or not we get the funding from the state. Yeah.
Yes,
I
sir.
like that correctly. Have a motion, do I hear a second?
Second.
Any other discussion? All in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye. Any opposed? So moved. Add-on cost for a four-wheel drive for state replaced bus garage truck. Randy, I don't know if that's
Yep.
exactly what all we doing here.
Okay, our state inspector, he comes every summer and he writes up our replacement of our school buses, our fuel truck, or our Yalla service trucks, which are owned by the state. And right now we have 3 of them, and they're going to replace 2 of our state trucks. And for an additional cost, which would come from local, they will upgrade those to a 3/4 ton 4-wheel drive, which the cost is approximately $3,750 per truck. So you're looking at basically $7,500 to, and then we would be able to have 2 3/4 ton 4-wheel drive trucks.
And in the future, when the state
Yes.
replaces these trucks.
They have a replacement of like 15 years or 175,000 miles on them. But after that, the state will replace them from now on.
At that level?
At that, yes. If we upgrade it to a 4-wheel drive, comes time for replacement, they will replace it.
So basically,
with a four-wheel drive.
replace expenditure now, we can guarantee ourselves that's what will happen.
Yes,
from now
every time them
throughout.
trucks from now on to be replaced unless
That's the
state
same thing.
changes.
That four-wheel drive comes in handy when pulling the bus out of the ditch.
Because, I mean, basically you could save, I mean, a lot of times we can use them if one gets in the ditch or anything like that.
I understand.
We can pull them out instead of calling a wrecker and getting
I
a
don't think they're gonna
$600
mind it.
wrecker
Once we
bill.
do this initial investment, it benefits us not just now, but
Yes.
throughout going forward.
Plus, when bad weather comes, you having to ride roads in bad weather, and a lot of these boys have to use their personal trucks because we don't have the four-wheel drive.
And where would the funding come from?
Angie?
It would have to come from local, or if you all wanted to appropriate some form of capital outlay money or Cartier J money, we could do that.
Well, I do think that it's money spent wisely, because eventually down the road, that's gonna cost more every time you having that replaced is, and we definitely live in an area that four-wheel drive.
'Cause I know back before these trucks could ever replace the first time they had the opportunity, and it was like $1,500 in, so in 12 years, it's almost, that was more than
Just matter
double.
where we come up with the money, I would defer to Dr. Baldwin and Angie and David to find the best place for the money to come from. I mean, I'd be happy to tell
I
you.
think if it comes out of cash outlay, we'd have to approve, we'd have to, decision the board would have to make.
Yeah, and I'm saying the board, we have, I just need that feedback. How much is in the Cartier J money?
Well, we just spent 3,500.
You just spent 35, so that left, yeah, you probably got 66 left.
Well, I would think that would be a wonderful place to take it from, so.
I'm trying not to rush, but I need the decision because they've actually already come with everything, and they need to know because they're placing, they're placing our order, you know, and they kind of need to know if we upgrade or not.
I would make a motion to have Randy proceed with getting these four-wheel drives at the additional $7,500 coming from the Cartier J,
Actually 79 in range.
excuse me,
3750, so
What's 75, I'm sorry.
7,500 total is what it should be.
I thought you said 39.
I'm better with money than he thinks I am.
My excuse, I thought you said 39.50. I'm hearing things. Go ahead.
Anyway, if you, the $7,500 from Cartier J funds.
That's fine. That way we're preserving sewer diligence for a long time. We have a motion that we appropriate $7,500 from our capital outlay, i.e. Cartier J money, to upgrade and purchase, to make the upgrade that Randy is recommending. Do I hear a second? Have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All in favor, say by saying aye. Any opposed? So moved.
Thank you.
Board of Education, School Board Association, annual conference.
This is, Mr. Chairman, of the board, this is just information for y'all. It's in your packet. The North Carolina School Association Conference is set for November the 18th to the 20th. We'll go down on the 17th. If we choose to attend, or if you choose to attend, these dates do conflict with the November board meeting. So we need to make a decision about possibly moving that meeting. That decision doesn't need to be made at this time, but give that information some thought, and then we'll decide whether or not this probably should be decided in August.
Gives everybody, members, time to think about it, check their calendar and see if that fits, and then we will, as you said, make a decision on the next board meeting. Okay. Any other information, Dr. Baldwin?
September board meeting or the August board meeting?
Probably need to make August board meeting make reservations.
We can let, even though some of us may not be here, we can let you know. Anything else, Dr. Baldwin?
That's all I have. He almost got that.
It was close. Before, and we don't have anything as far as enough for closed session. Anything else, any other board members would like to bring up to the board at this time? Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
Second.
A motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. There you go. Any opposed? Don't think so. Thank y'all for coming in.